It is what it is, my God. It is what it is. Yeah. I was so scared, don't show me love. Now I do it like a saying while I run it up. Tell me, boy, you insane, only way is up. It's your welcome to the 20s, I holding up. I was so scared, don't show me love. Now I do it like a saying while I run it up. Tell me, boy, you insane, only way is up. It's your welcome to the 20s, I holding up.
Hello, everybody. How you guys holding up? Welcome back to KeyCast, the podcast that unlocks new doors. Guys, as we speak right now, sports are back. Over the past few weeks, we have seen the NBA return with their seeding games to finish out the regular season. We've seen the NHL return with their playoffs, and the MLB return with some of the regular season games. And damn, is it a sight to see. It's like we're finally getting all these sports goodies back that we've been missing for the past few months, and we are just eating them up. Before we get into this episode, I just want to say, go follow our Instagram at keycast.official to be sure to keep up with updates with this podcast and leave suggestions for our future episodes. Last time we released the episode, we posted a memo on our Instagram saying, give us suggestions for this episode. And a majority of you guys said you really liked our last episode about sports. So we're back with some more sports. I mean, who doesn't like sports here? I mean, I love it. Samuel loves it. Junior loves it. So why not? Right? But I want to get into the MLB and how their season might end a week after it opened. Not sure how that makes sense, but Rob Manfred has done a poor job at handling the COVID-19 pandemic and all of the issues surrounding it. Juno, I know you are a big baseball fan. What do you think Rob Manfred was thinking with this sloppy plan?
All right, man. So about Rob Manfred, I think he is missing a couple screws in his head. I don't quite understand how hard it is to literally make a bubble. I understand that they did propose a plan to make a bubble in Arizona, but the MLBPA declined, which is Players Association. But I believe there was a lot of speculation of not enough testing and not enough safety regarding the bubble. So I don't really understand as such a big organization with such high revenue isn't able to make a bubble to ensure the safety of their players. I just don't understand why. I don't really even understand the point of traveling where you could just make, because I believe in the long run, the safety of a player will generate you more income than having sick players potentially, dying. You never know, right? So, and as you know, the coronavirus situation, we heard about a case in Italy where a lot of the people that got corona, or same with Rudy Gobert, they got coronavirus, but even after recovering, they had a lot of very harmful symptoms still lasting, even after after being cleared of the coronavirus. So I feel like it's not good for the players. And as you know, numerous teams have already contracted the virus, which is very critical for that team's also their revenue. So I don't really understand why they won't make a bubble financially. Is it pride? I really don't know. I just think the guy is kind of mod.
It was a sloppy plan, to say the least. And for those that don't know the context that we're talking about right now, the MLB, as we've seen the successes with the NBA's bubble and the NHL's bubbles in Toronto and Edmonton and the NBA's in Orlando, the MLB decided, nah, we ain't gonna do that. We're gonna travel state to state across the country to play in MLB arenas, and we don't care about this pandemic. We don't care that we're traveling to numerous hotspots around the United States of America. We still want to play in Major League Baseball stadiums. We still want to travel state to state, which was proven by health officials that is not safe. And the Canadian government told the Toronto Blue Jays, no, you can't play in Toronto because we don't want United States teams coming to our country. They're going to be traveling to maybe hotspots in the U.S. We don't want that in here. In Washington, the Washington Nationals still played in Washington when they were advised by the government officials, by the state health officials, to say, no, don't play in here. It's not safe. They said, nah, we don't care. We're still going to do it. It doesn't make sense for them not to try and create a bubble, not to try and do something safe, because as we've seen in the past few weeks, literally the MLB's first day was July 23rd. This podcast is being recorded on August 4th. We've already seen multiple teams temporarily shut down their season less than 2 weeks into it. And the fact that he's still continuing on to saying that, oh, we're not quitters, we're still going to do it, it doesn't make sense, and it boggles my mind.
But one thing I don't understand is it's just genuinely like the lack of care for their players, because Ilyas, I know you said this before, when the Washington Nationals, one of their players got a test while playing a game. Like, I don't understand how you could get a test.
Yeah.
And
one soda.
Yeah, so if you are positive, like, what are you supposed to just hope to be negative? It just doesn't make any sense. So if you would have just got tested beforehand, like in a bubble situation, it'd be so much easier. But I do understand that it's like baseball does have more players than other sports, and then also like you can't really just select a few teams like the NBA and put them in the bubble and exclude like a couple more, because baseball, as you know, it's a game of like you never know what's gonna happen, right? Like there are really no favors, like there's no really playoff contending teams. Well, there is kinda, but like it's just a game of like luck, right? And so you never really know. But even with that factor, I believe they should have at least made sacrifices to like ensure player safety.
Yeah, Samuel, you're gonna say something?
It's a reckless thing to do, bro. You can't have players traveling across the country in the middle of a pandemic, bro. It's not meant to be like that, bro.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, it's not the fact like they don't have a place to go. There's so many like amazing baseball facilities where you could create like a bubble. For example, on the NHL, right? They created what is that? It's a 5-star hotel, right?
So yeah, the NHL's bubble plan was basically since we have 24 teams, we're not going to just put them all in one city because you don't have like the facilities properly for hockey. We're going to do it 2 different cities in Toronto and Edmonton. And so Toronto's staying at 2 different hotels for 2 teams, for 2 halves of the conference. And then for the Western Conference, they're going to be staying in Edmonton in 2 different hotels, 8 teams in one hotel and 4 teams in another. So they're doing it like that. Hopefully the MLB should be able to do that as well.
Don't you think it's like too late right now? Because all the other sport organizations like created plans beforehand.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, because at this point, right, you're gonna have to like technically cancel the whole season with so much going on. So they will, but yeah, basically it is too late. So I feel like at this point they're just trying to like do whatever they can just to make a little bit extra bucks, before they really cancel.
The players make the sports, and if you have your players getting sick,
Exactly.
You're not gonna go very far. Like, to be honest, you're not.
It reminds me kind of like the NFL, right? If the NFL, because as we know, the NFL and the players are having a major conflict right now with the safety of the coronavirus situation. So it just kind of reminds me of like the NFL, but if they would have actually went through, which is MLB, which is just how terrible it is.
Yeah, I understand, but like this plan was it just didn't seem like it was like actually thought out for a long period of time. Like the MLB didn't even know they were going to play their games until late June. It was seen for a while in June that we wouldn't even have an MLB season at all. And then they said, okay, yeah, we agree on a season. Let's try to figure it out. The next day, here's our plan. It didn't seem like they sat down, they thought about it for a few days, maybe a few weeks over it. Like the NHL, their plan has been thought out. The NBA's, their plan has been thought out. And how many COVID cases have we seen in the NHL and NBA combined? 0. How many have we seen in the MLB? More than I can remember.
Exactly. Every day it's like a new case. Every single day.
Exactly. So this plan, it didn't seem like it was thought out. It didn't seem like this is a foolproof plan that nothing can get past us. It just seemed like they slapped this together in 2 minutes and wanted to be the first league in major leagues in North America to come back and take advantage of that 1 week where there was no NHL, there was no NBA, and capitalize on it. And it didn't seem like they were trying to make a safe plan for the players. They were just trying to make a plan to get the most money out of it. And yes, I know it's a sports league. They're trying to make money. But at the end of the day, we're in a world pandemic. And what this is doing is not helping the end of this. So it's just, it doesn't make sense to me.
I feel like this is more of a case of pride, to be honest, rather than like pride and revenue, right? Like they're just prioritizing, I guess, materialistic values rather than like actual players' health. And the saddest part about this is that the major like stars of a team don't really even have to worry because they could always opt out. Like Jonas Cespedes, right? He has a $110 million contract. He can just opt out for this season. But the players that are like up and coming and struggling for like the rookies or call-ups, right? They could opt out, but it's not really, you really can't do it. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to have a bad impression to the team. So those rookies and those teams are basically risking their health because they know they have to play. They have no other choice. So I just feel like that's pretty sad, in my opinion.
Players keep getting sick, and teams keep getting sick. You're gonna have to cancel the season eventually, and it just cancels out basically all the work that you try to do and break the season back.
Exactly.
Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Like
For COVID-19 in general, like once a person gets COVID-19, right? Yeah, they're going to have to quarantine. But after that, it takes a huge impact and puts a large amount of stress on your respiratory system. There's been a lot of cases that have popped up with prevalent respiratory issues where people have had trouble breathing even after COVID-19. Like they couldn't be able to have that same lung capacity as they would before. And a player such as Eduardo Rodriguez on the Red Sox, who developed a heart issue from COVID, he has been shut down for the entirety of the season because of what's going on right now. And the fact that they still said, no, we're not going to quit. We're still going to pursue a season, like I said multiple times before, and I will say it again because it still does not make any sense.
If a player catches COVID and gets COVID and has to quarantine themselves, right, and they do recover from it, I think they'll be reluctant to come back and play. Don't you think so? Like, do the same thing all over again and maybe catch the disease?
But like one thing they could have, in my opinion, have done is if they were going to travel, which I still don't understand why, they could have at least, quarantined the team itself, right? So let's say if they were to travel, it would like they could have just like if, for example, if they just want to not like create a bubble, because yes, that does take time. Let's say they just wanted to put together a plan where they could just quarantine or isolate the players and the staff, right, of a team and just isolate them and travel them to city by city. I feel like that would have been like, in my opinion, a better plan. So it still ensures safety somewhat, right? But at the same time, they can do whatever what he wants, traveling to different cities. So I don't know. It's just like messed up. It's just messed up and disorganized.
Yeah, it's very unorganized, I don't know, man. I don't know what they were thinking, man. Like, this could have all been prevented. We didn't even need to talk about the MLB canceling their season. If they just sat down for like a couple days, a few days, a week, something like that, and just said, let's think of a plan for safety and that we can still use our season. Like, there's no way that the NBA wanted to come back in August. The NHL did not want to come back in August. But they found out, they took their time with it, they figured out a plan that was going to be safe for the players, and they can still make money off of. The NHL announced their plan, return to play plan, in May. And then they had phase 1 plan, the phase 1 part, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and like they laid out once like they announced their plan, they laid out a concrete formula for them to follow, and it worked out perfectly for them. We're seeing NHL games right now that are literally playoff infused intensity with no fans, and the NHL is making money off of it. The broadcasting channels are making money off of it. Everybody is actually finding success with the bubble, with NHLs and especially with NBA. But the MLB just sat there for literally, I think, maybe an hour and just said, we want to be the first one back. How do we do it? State to state. We don't care. And that just shows to me the lack of really knowledge that this commissioner has. How can this person be a commissioner when he doesn't even think of the safety of his own players, and it's just ridiculous.
Like you guys said, the MLB has a lot of players, right, and teams. If you guys were like in charge of the commission, right, what would you guys do? What would be your plan to like bring, if you had to redo this over again and you were in charge of this? How would you bring the baseball back?
In my opinion, like if I was the commissioner, out of like from the start, probably would have had to sacrifice a couple teams, and like I guess using like and like choose like the top teams that I feel like are most playoff contended. Even though baseball is not really like, you cannot really like statistically choose who's gonna be better, who's gonna be not, like other sports. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to make sacrifices, right? So I would have probably done that, and just there's so many like amazing baseball facilities like across the world. Like just for example, there's IMG Academy if they had to. There's Arizona, and if it's Arizona's too hot, there's like so many facilities and stadiums where like you could create a bubble such as the NHL, right? Even within like a city, right? Just barricade that section off. So I feel like there was just so much opportunities to do it. It's just that I don't know if there's maybe underlying factors of why they didn't. Maybe, I don't know, sponsors or something like that. But at the end of the day, I would have had to probably like sacrifice time, like for the safety of the players. But I think that's just what Rob Manfred like didn't want to do. So here we are today.
What I would have done, I would have sat down there for like a good like a week or something and looked at all the AAA arenas and find out where COVID-19 is not prevalent in the United States of America. So find 2 arenas or 2 stadiums that are literally not like closed off, but are in an area where COVID-19 is not as big as it is in maybe Florida or something like that, right? And then I would have separated the American League and the and National League and put them into 2 separate bubbles, because the fact, like, I feel like it's not fair to those teams that you're just going to cut them out of the season. Yeah, Baltimore Orioles, they suck, but we have to give them a chance to play. Like, they're here to play baseball. They have to make money somehow. So we're not going to say, no, you can't play this season because your team is ass. We're not going to do that. So I would put the National League in one bubble and the American League in one bubble, like how the NHL did it, and let them play games against each other and not be any cross play between leagues like how we've seen in regular MLB seasons, and then try to follow that. And then once the regular season concludes, continue with this 2 bubble format. And then once we get closer to the World Series, put every team in one bubble and choose which one was the more safer one at the time or something. I think that's a concrete plan. But I thought of that in 2 seconds. The MLB had weeks on weeks to think about it, and they said, no, we're still going to travel state to state, and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like there had to be an underlying factor, because I really don't understand why. I understand like a lot of sports like organizations are competing against each other for view time, right? All that stuff. But it's still like there had to be a factor, right? There had to be something that the public doesn't know.
MLB could have picked like a page from what the soccer teams did. They could have picked a page from their playbook, because they didn't have any fans at the stadium, but the soccer teams in Europe did travel across the different countries and play.
They could have done that, but like, in what world is it safe for you to travel state to state in the United States of America, where COVID-19 is at the most in the entire world? In what world does that make sense for you to travel from Florida to Washington, from Florida to another thing? Like, as we all know, Florida is like literally the biggest place where COVID-19 is right now.
Like you said, Ilyas, you take the hospitals and you put an X on it. You're not going there. You're not going to Florida. You're not going to those places. But you choose places that the pandemic is less prevalent, and you go there and play. Like what you said is actually a very good idea.
Yeah, but they didn't want to think of that. They didn't want to think of that. It literally, it took me, literally, when you asked that question, it took me 2 seconds. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But the MLB sat there for so long and said, no, we're still going to travel state to state.
The NBA took their time planning it out. They had like I believe they had like 100 pages, book like filled out to come through with a plan. Like the page, like the rule book was like 100 pages.
But you know what? What could have been? Maybe
that
like
much?
Like they noticed all the teams are like thinking about a safety plan, and they're gonna be pushed back. So, and I feel like maybe Rob Manfred just was like, "This is my chance, right? No sports are playing, right? I'm gonna get so much money, so this is my chance. We gotta start now, no matter what." So I feel like that's probably what he did. He's like seized the opportunity, and he just did what he did.
don't think that's probably what he did. I think that's definitely what he
What
did.
he did.
Yeah, because if you remember when MLB first came back, the only sport you could watch was baseball. So it makes sense that they would have so much watch time, right? Even non-baseball fans would be watching because they have nothing to watch. So I feel like he just wanted to seize that opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then look at UFC. Didn't they like buy themselves an island in Abu Dhabi?
That is one of the best plans I have. That's one of the best things I've ever seen, bro. That was one of the
I
smartest.
mean, I
things I've
don't
seen.
follow the UFC.
They bought a fight island. I know all the fights that happened recently were on a fight. They call it the fight island. Abu Dhabi.
That's
like that.
crazy.
That was sick.
Yeah, the living
I
lavish.
don't know that. I watch a lot of sports, but one of the sports that I tend to not keep up with is UFC. I don't know. I don't like.
Yeah, I just watch UFC for like big fight nights.
Yeah, like the Kamaru Usman fight.
Yeah, but I don't really like follow it like religiously.
So the Usman fight was in Abu Dhabi.
I believe so. Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. I actually never knew that.
Crazy. They're drinking smoothies.
The NBA bubble's back. We've seen NBA games. We've seen the Raptors play the Lakers on Sunday, and really, there's been a lot of, questions coming around the bubble. Like, how are the players surviving? Apparently, the food there has not been the best quality.
Mm-hmm.
As we've seen with Lou Williams stopping by Magic City to get some chicken wings. But apparently, those look fire. You see the picture of them? They look fire. I'm not gonna cap. But I'm not gonna
shout out to Giancarlo for ratting
him out. But I'm not gonna cap. Those wings looked fire. Like somebody tweeted it out, saying, "Yo, I'm not gonna lie, Lou Williams. I understand why you stopped at Magic City. Those wings look like actually they look good, bro. Like good." But aside from talking about chicken wings, how do you think these NBA players are surviving right now in the bubble?
Well, if you notice, like on YouTube, you can see like so many like JaVale McGee and etc. Right, making like those life in the bubble vlogs, right? And like it's just crazy to see the food that they're eating. I remember, I think on JaVale McGee's, he had like a little piece of meat, like that you can get like in like those frozen meat, like they usually serve at like cafeterias or something. Just crazy. And then it's like apparently like roaches, right? It's like it's not ideal, but like at the end of the day, you're just there to play basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, they really went out of their way for that, and plus the players have access to like basically the entire facility and everything. They could go on slides and stuff and have fun. So you're surrounded by your guys. I mean, the food isn't gonna matter too much. You're there as a team. You're with the guys. You could do some fun stuff and also play the game.
Well, to be honest, like if I was them, I kind of love food. So me eating that every single day, I kind of lose my mind. Like I would have probably pulled a Lou Williams. I would have probably pulled like I can't eat that every day.
I mean, like it seems fun there. It's basically a resort with all the NBA players in one place. That seems sick as fuck. Garrett Temple in an interview today after the Nets defeated the Bucks, he said, "We saw the Houston Rockets at the pool the other day, and they told us how to beat the Bucks. And the Nets beat the Bucks." In what world in a regular
they got Hoffman. They got Hoffman.
Yo, but one question though, who's snitching? Who is this? I know for a fact that someone just watching out the window, just snitching on everybody, just looking outside.
Yo, Chris Paul, where you at?
But you do realize it's not just the players that are there, the other people.
No, but as I was saying, in what world would you see a player saying, "Yeah, we saw the Houston Rockets there, and they told us how to beat the other team," and that's just crazy to see that these teams are interacting with each other. These players are they're breaking down games on how to beat other teams in order to favor them. This bubble is going to lead to unforeseen circumstances in basketball.
The Nets aren't going anywhere, so I get why the Houston Rockets gave them what to do.
Talking about the food again, remember there was that Kings player, Richaun Holmes, who could not control his urge to sneak outside food into the NBA bubble, and he had to quarantine for 14 days because of it. And I wonder who snitched on him. Chris Paul, where you at?
Did you guys hear about the depth of perception in the bubble? How it's like helping so many players with their 3-point shots. Because you know how in an NBA arena, right? It's so vast and open, but a bubble, just like a pickup game at a gym. So we noticed so many players going off. You know, James Harden, right? I think TJ Warren just going crazy.
Yeah, he dropped 53 points. 53. It's crazy. That is crazy.
And we also see like a bunch of players that are sitting down and watching like the games like unfold in front of them.
Yeah, that's sick. That's sick.
DeMar DeRozan and Rudy Gay, two former Raptors players, sat courtside while the Raptors were facing the Heat, which is like kind of crazy because, you know, we're finally seeing like DeMar and Kyle interact with each other after years and like all that stuff pop up. Like it's the fact that there's rivals, like people who hate each other, and there's also people who like are very good friends all in this one big resort. It's going to lead to something that could be like incredibly entertaining for us to watch. Or it could be like something that could be detrimental to the NBA, maybe.
I agree.
TJ Warren and Jimmy Butler, where you at?
Yeah, TJ Warren and Jimmy Butler, like they almost got in a fight during the regular season, and now they're locked in the same resort for months, maybe. So it could lead to maybe we see a fight happening outside of outside the court. They run into like maybe there's some animosity towards each other that leads to something happening like in the resort itself. It could.
Rondo's not in the bubble, right?
No, Rondo's not in the bubble because he has
Rondo and Chris Paul.
Yeah, see, there's a lot of like this could be very good, but this could be very bad as well. Like I remember, in the NHL bubble, because the NHL teams are all staying in the one arena. The first day in the bubble, Chris Letang, who was a player for the Pittsburgh Penguins, ran into a bunch of the Philadelphia Flyers players. And the thing is with the Philadelphia Flyers and the Pittsburgh Penguins, they're both in Pennsylvania, and those two teams hate each other. Like when I say hate each other, I mean hate each other. So he ran into a bunch of them, and he was like, yeah, it was really awkward. I'm not sure like what the heck I was supposed to do, but luckily I know one of their players really well, and nothing like else happened because of it. But
imagine them in the elevator.
Imagine if he never knew a player like that well, like what could happen there, you know?
They might have jumped him.
Like
imagine that. Just imagine that.
Imagine. You know what I want to imagine? I want to imagine what Kawhi Leonard is doing in the bubble. Like I feel like Kawhi Leonard is living his regular life. He's just like living life. This is my normal daily routine. This is what I do every day. I'm in a bubble. Oh damn, I forgot robot malfunction. Like I wonder like what he's doing. I wonder what Kawhi's doing.
I'm still on how Kawhi doesn't even have any social media platform at all.
No,
he doesn't.
Not even Twitter, right? Not even Twitter, right?
That's Twitter, but
he's only
posted one tweet in his whole entire life. It was him at the White House, with the San Antonio Spurs and Barack Obama, and saying I forgot what the tweet was, but it was
when they won the championship.
Yeah, when they won the championship. That was the only tweet. It was really weird as well. Here, I'll take a screenshot and I'll send it to you and look at it.
I remember seeing this on IG, right? And it's actually so true and scary. It's like, take it in how when Kawhi Leonard retires, that's the last we're ever going to hear of him, ever.
Yeah, probably.
Like, he's literally going to disappear. You're not going to see him anymore.
Yeah,
that's just crazy.
He probably is not going to come back. Like, I wonder what Kawhi Leonard is going to do.
He's a fun guy who loves to live a private life. You can't.
Yeah, but don't forget though, he does have wife and kids already. So it's just he is like living his life.
I'm gonna send you the picture of the Kawhi Leonard's tweet. It's so funny because it's not even good quality as well, and the caption is one of my greatest experiences in my whole entire life, and it's the only thing he's tweeted from his own account. Everything else has been like retweets, but the last time he retweeted something was 2015.
He verified on Twitter.
Yeah, he's verified. Yeah. Look,
I made Twitter. It was so confusing. I couldn't even use it.
Twitter's alright, but like I'm not on it though.
Like I don't understand how to even use it.
So look, I sent it to you guys in the Discord. Look at the look at that. Look at Patty Mills in the background too. He looks lost.
The picture quality.
Yeah. It's just funny. It's just like Kawhi Leonard is such a private guy, and now he's in this bubble where everything is made public, but also it's super private at the same time because everybody's going to be in their own places and their own things. They're not going to have their own family and stuff. And he seems like such a family man. And now we're here and everything's going crazy. I wonder how he's living life in the bubble. It's going to be crazy. And we've seen I want to talk about the games though. Like the games have been like pretty intense, especially in the NBA. Like we saw the Clippers-Lakers game, which went down to the end, super close. But they didn't have Lou Williams because of Magic City, and they didn't have Montrezl Harrell as well. Like the games, people were saying, "Oh, well, no fans, the atmosphere might die."
Not in my opinion. It's not as bad as I thought, to be honest.
Yeah, we've seen in the NBA, also in the NHL, that the intensity is there and it's there to stay. Like we've seen with the Portland Celtics game, Celtics were up by 20. All of a sudden, Portland kept creeping up. And credit to Damian Lillard, shout out SC Tesla once again. Credit to Damian Lillard for bringing his team back. Unfortunately, they lost a bad call at the end maybe there by Terry Stotts with going for a 2 when they needed a 3. But like that's a big example of how the intensity and the atmosphere, like people are not going to have to rely on fans to get that energy back. They're going to have to rely on their own players. And the fact that they can still do it shows that the intensity for basketball, especially in the NBA, is going to be there for these regular season games, and especially when we get down to the end of the playoffs.
When I first watched one of the games in the bubble, it was kind of weird to me. I'm not going to lie to you. But I like it now. It's proper. It's fair.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know it's weird, but I kind of like it. I kind of like the games in the bubble, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it just looks so different. It's just so different. I kind of like it.
And they're playing at like a faster pace, in my opinion.
I mean, it is a little bit of a sloppy basketball because they haven't played in so long. But I think that is not to the detriment of the NBA. I think that's a good thing because the sloppier the basketball, I feel like, the more entertaining things could happen. Like we've seen multiple game winners, TJ Warren game winner, Carmelo Anthony game winner, LeBron game winner. We saw today Devin Booker hit one of the coldest shots I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
that thing was so tough. The fact that he hit that shot is crazy. Over Paul George once again, but like we're gonna see like crazy endings. Wild outcomes that is not going to be to the detriment of the NBA. And I feel like the bubble is going to lead to more entertaining basketball games.
And players you don't expect are going to step up, in my opinion. I think that's what's going to happen. A lot of players you don't expect to step up, they're going to show up playoff time, stuff like that.
Yeah, in my opinion, they're playing more like a competitive pickup basketball game.
I feel like that's more entertaining than a...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's way more entertaining.
Like we've seen players step up already. TJ Warren, like where he came out of nowhere, and we finally see him like take advantage of this sloppy basketball and drop 53 points and then 34 points the next night. Like he's playing out of his mind for the Pacers and essentially gave them 2 dubs over the Wizards and the 76ers.
Oh yeah, and don't forget about Luka. That was an insane triple double. That was an insane triple double.
Yeah, he since the NBA merger. I saw this stat pop up anywhere, but since the NBA ABA merger back in like the 60s, there's only been 4 times that there's been players drop 30 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists plus in a game. And Luka Doncic did that today, joining Nikola Jokic as one of those players. So there's been 4 times, and 2 of the current players in the NBA have done it. Which is crazy.
I feel like there's like less pressure on them because like the fans are watching at home. They're not in the arena with them, so they don't feel as much pressure as they do when they're playing like an arena that's packed with fans and people talking all type of trash to you because fans do talk trash to players.
But like I feel like when you're playing though, you don't really even hear it, do you? Because I don't think so. Not in my opinion.
You've never seen players like describe like a fan insulting them or something like that, and they have to respond or show them that.
I feel like most of like their response are after game, right? Like or like timeouts.
No, in game, yeah, in game, they can make the shot and look at the fan or say something to them. It happens.
Yeah, well, like Spike Lee interactions and stuff.
I guess because I remember because usually like when I play baseball, I don't hear anything. Like I don't even hear my dad.
I mean, yeah, a lot of people like are able to tune it out at the same time, but like people like sometimes they're like coming into Game 7, even if it's during the regulars. During the bubble, they might still feel it, but when there is fans there, people are like saying, "My heart is beating out my chest. I'm nervous."
Oh, like the nervous factor, right?
Yeah, like the atmosphere in the arena.
I get that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just like a competitive pickup game, basically. They're just playing how they want to play.
And there's no home advantage to me because like there's no fans to cheer you on.
I mean, yeah, exactly. That's the thing with the NBA. Like, what's the point of having home and away teams? I don't think that matters. And the NHL, it matters because like a home team actually has an advantage with like the changes and lineup changes. Where in the NBA, the teams don't really have that big of an advantage. So I remember Nick Nurse was saying like the first game he played, he's like, "Is my team the home team or the away team today?" Like, I don't remember. Like, am I going to see it on that side or that side? Like, I don't think it plays a big difference.
No, it doesn't. Doesn't.
Which also what I wanted to get into is, like, why do you think the NBA didn't decide to do a non-conference format for this bubble, like 1 through 16 teams in the league, like not because it's not going to be through people traveling from arena to arena anymore because it's COVID and the world pandemic.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be like a playoff series where people have to travel from Boston to LA. There's no need for conferences really in this bubble. Why do you think the NBA is still stuck to the bubble, like the conference format, when they could have easily done a maybe even more entertaining format of a league battle between maybe 1 and 16, 2 for 15, and like a March Madness type of thing? Why did they think they stuck to that?
Oh, I agree on that. That would have been way better.
Yeah, but like I wonder why they still stuck to the conference format when that was like there on the table for them, and they could have just easily taken it.
This was a really good chance to try that, but maybe they just want to stick with what they're used to, bro.
Yeah, I agree. But I think they just want to keep it simple.
I mean, the bubble isn't simple. Everything's kind of
Or not simple, but more like just keep it the same.
I agree, but like I'm saying for the NBA, if right now nothing in the world is simple, might as well change things up, do something crazy, something entertaining for the fans that would like to see. Maybe you can get a Clippers Lakers finals instead of a Western Conference finals, right?
I feel like a lot of players and like coaches might not agree with that.
Yeah, because don't forget a lot of those guys are like old fashioned, right?
Yeah, conferences are not. The West is some much stronger conference than the Eastern Conference. Like, if you look at it in a way, it's kind of not fair because certain teams might have a high record in the East because they're only playing in the East. But if they ever went to the West, their record might be significantly lower.
True. But like, of course, it will have to get passed by like the board of governors and stuff. But I'm saying they should have at least given it a shot, tried it, maybe roll the dice. Maybe you get a entertaining playoffs that leads to a Clippers Lakers finals, right? Because we always hear the NBA and ESPN is pushing Clippers Lakers, the Battle of LA, Kawhi, the Claw versus the King. Like we're always seeing this stuff, right? If the NBA really wanted to capitalize on the city of Los Angeles being the biggest market, they could have maybe pushed for this and gotten LA versus LA final instead of the LA versus LA Western Conference final, right?
Agreed. I agree. But I like the MLB, right? They weren't money hungry, which obviously shows because of the amount of time they put into the bubble. So I just think they didn't really care. Like they just did same old.
I felt like they were so busy with other stuff that restructuring like the playoffs was like the least of their worries and concerns.
Oh yeah, probably. Like they're probably more concerned with the safety and everything.
Yes,
but I don't know. I'm just throwing crazy, chaotic possibilities out there that.
But this would have been the best chance to do it. This would have been the best time to do it.
Yeah, because people have been trying to say this for years. Like, why not do the conference format? People always say travel, and now there is no travel. You might as well, right? I mean, Stephen A. Smith went on a big ass rant on ESPN saying, guys, you should do this, blah, blah, blah. You're doing Stephen A. Smith stuff, right? And NBA, for the first time, should have listened to Stephen A. Smith and should have said, yo, this guy's kind of right. We should probably do this. I'm saying it was a good possibility for them to do it. And if they did, it could have led to something crazy happening in these playoffs.
It would have been wild, though. Really wild. Because it's just the best 16 teams in the league.
Yeah. I mean, like right now, because we already know who's going to be like there or who the teams that are contending in the East and the West, like Bucks, Raptors, Celtics, maybe not Celtics even. In the West, we know there's a tier of Clippers, Lakers, and then there's a gap, and then there's a tier below of like the Nuggets, the Rockets, and those teams, right? So I feel like that because we already know where these teams are going to be like that go ahead in these playoffs, that if we shake things up, we could get something like a crazy ass matchup, like that would be insane and lead to a rivalry between conferences that we never see.
If they had tried that, we might have more teams from the West because like the Magic and Wizards might not like make the top 16 teams.
Yeah,
based off
yeah,
records.
exactly. I feel like even because the East is not as good as the West this year, right? Like, I mean, they haven't been as good as the West in the past couple of years. I mean, the top end of the East is like really, really good and probably better than the top end of the West, aside from like the Clippers and Lakers. But like the bottom end of the East is not good at all, and we have
I agree.
like the Mavericks who are really good. The who else is there? The Grizzlies who are good. The Pelicans who are good. Not to forget the Blazers, who have struggled this season, but are playing really good in these bubble games and have really good close games. All respect to them, right? But they could have a chance in a best of 16 format rather than the Magic or the Nets, who don't have anybody if they're playing aside from like Karis LeVert, or Jarrett Allen and Jamal Crawford now. Like, why not give these teams with star players such as Zion, Damian Lillard, like all these great players? But why are you going to give it to Karis LeVert? I mean, for the NBA, from a marketing standpoint, I think it makes sense for them to do like a 16-team format rather than a conference-based format. I guess I can see why they didn't do it, but it would have made a lot of sense if they did this time.
It would have. And might have brought about more views too, because the intensity would have been there.
Yeah, and also like their star players would have been playing. Like we could have seen Zion in the playoffs. Like NBA, like a lot of the rumors are, we want Zion in the playoffs, so we're gonna make it a 22 team instead of just going right into it. We want Damian Lillard to have a chance or John Morant to have a chance. We want these star players to have a chance in these playoffs and not just like have something like a Magic team playing, which is kind of boring, right, for the NBA. So if they were really, really trying to push for that, why not go for a best of 16 format?
I just talked the Western Conference, the 8th spot. The 8th, who do you think is going to get it?
I mean, we talked about it last episode. I said, famously, with our friend group, said the Blazers have no chance. And then the Blazers went out and won their first game against the Grizzlies, and then lost. But I don't know. It's close. It's such a close race. We saw it with the Suns even winning today. Like the Suns are like really close as well. The Pelicans are still close, even with losing those 2 games. The Spurs have just been winning a lot recently. The Grizzlies have faltered big time as well, as Jaren Jackson Jr. is out for the rest of the season because he tore his meniscus. If John Morant can carry enough, maybe the Grizzlies have a chance, but I don't think the Grizzlies can pull it off. There's going to be a play-in game, for sure, in my opinion. Who is it going to be with? I don't know. I feel like LeBron versus Damian Lillard would be crazy to see. Would be a really good game, like really good series. As we saw in the regular season, those games were really close between those 2 teams, even with Portland not being the best team in the world this year. LeBron and versus Zion would be crazy as well. Any story would be good, to be honest. I'm a fan of stories.
LeBron versus Zion would have been so amazing. I remember that game last year, or this year technically.
This year, before the season ended. I feel like the playing game is going to be between the Grizzlies and the Blazers, and the Blazers are going to win, and we're going to see Dame versus LeBron.
I mean, that would be hella entertaining. Like,
because the Grizzlies, all the injured Blazers players are back now, so they're almost at full strength.
Yeah, Nurkic is back, and we obviously have Skinny Mello. Damian Lillard, of course, is Damian Lillard because they have CJ McCollum as well. But like, I'm a fan of stories more than anything in sports, and seeing, I feel like any team that came in 8th seed is going to be a good series or a good matchup for the Lakers. Not in the sense of them maybe upsetting them. I'm saying in the sense of how entertaining
basketball,
like the hype and excitement build up.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, you guys nailed it, right? I'm talking about like LeBron versus Dame would be entertaining. LeBron versus Zion would be entertaining.
I agree. It's like a superstar versus superstar type of
LeBron versus John Morant would be entertaining. LeBron versus DeMar DeRozan, like that's an underrated story because in the Eastern Conference, LeBron versus DeMar, they always face each other, and LeBron always got the best of him. Maybe DeMar's gonna try to finally avenge himself when nobody believes in him finally, right? So there's always there's an abundance of stories that could happen for that 8 seed, and whoever comes out of it, it's gonna be hella entertaining.
The West first round playoffs is gonna be hella entertaining because 1 versus 8 and 2 versus 7 are actually really good games based on the records right now. 7th, I think the Mavs are 7th, and if they end up facing the Clippers, that's also a really interesting series.
Yeah, that'd be a very good game.
Yeah,
Luka versus Paul George and Kawhi.
Luka and Chris.
Luka's on fire right now.
And then then there's gonna be Nuggets and Thunder, and maybe Rockets and Jazz who faced each other a bunch in the playoffs recently, and like there's gonna be a lot of entertaining playoff matchups in the West. In the East, I think there's gonna be a lot of entertaining playoff matchups as well. Not to forget about them. We're gonna see Raptors Magic maybe again, which we saw last year. Celtics 76ers, which will be amazing first round series as it always is. But another that's really underrated, like we talked about it before, TJ Warren and Jimmy Butler, they don't like each other. The Heat and the Pacers might face each other in the first round. That, in my opinion, might be the best first round series that we will see in all of the playoffs.
My money is on Lakers versus wherever the 8 seed is.
For the most entertaining?
Either that or Mavs versus Clippers.
Yeah, but I feel like, okay, the Heat and the Pacers, the reason why I say Heat and Pacers is because TJ Warren is really, really good and he's popping off. And the Pacers, in my opinion, them alongside the Raptors and the Nuggets are the team with the best chemistry in the league. And them facing the Heat, who also have amazing chemistry as well and also great from three, such as the Pacers. Like, these are two teams that are very well matched against each other and really are very similar in the ways that they play. It's going to be a hella series to watch. And if TJ Warren steps up and then he talks trash to Jimmy Butler, and if Jimmy Butler steps up, he talks trash to TJ Warren, this could be the next big rivalry out the Eastern Conference. Two good teams that have always been doubted and play very similar.
We don't talk about it enough, but the Heat do have a solid chance this year, like at least to get to the finals. Not conference finals, to the conference finals. Because they're the one team that has beaten the Bucks twice this season, I believe. And if they win their first round, they're going to face the Bucks in the second round. I'm not saying they're going to upset them, but who knows? Anything is possible. Sports.
I remember what's it called? Who did they trade Bobo for after trading him? Did they get anyone?
Who traded Bobo?
The Nuggets traded
remember when Bobo was drafted by the Heat, but then they gave him to the Nuggets?
Yeah,
Who did they get
I think it was like a draft pick trade, so like draft picks for draft pick.
In my opinion, if Bobo would have been on Miami, I would have been a crazy Miami fan right now. I would have bandwagoned so hard.
Bro, I've been saying since Bobo was in freaking high school how good.
Yeah, exactly. I've been telling everybody Bobo is next up. But nobody believes it. Like, look at him now. This guy's a monster. This guy's a stretch big on steroids.
Exactly.
He could dominate on both ends of the floor.
Exactly. But I understand though he's a very high risk, high reward type of player. So I can understand why a lot of teams, but still, it's like
he dropped
Bobo is
through
something
draft,
else.
right? Like he went way below.
Yeah, he went way below projection.
Yeah. He was supposed to be.
Wait, was he supposed? He wasn't projected first round, right?
He was injured in his season.
Yeah, he got an ankle injury in Oregon. But even with the ankle injury in Oregon, just his play, even those couple 8 games, right, in Oregon,
9
was still like, it was like I think he averaged over 20 points, right, like around 23 points a game in the 9 game, which is still very impressive.
Like, people are saying, he could be injury prone in the future or something like that. But I mean, like, the Nuggets, once they get Jamal Murray back from his hamstring injury, they're going to be a scary sight with Bobo stepping up. Michael Porter Jr. dropping 35 points. Oh, my God. Then they have Nikola Jokic, of course. And now they have their role players as well. They're going to be a crazy team.
Yeah, Nuggets have some gems. I'm telling you, Nuggets have some gems.
In a season or two, I could see them be like the main contenders in the West, like alongside the Clippers and the Lakers. Because right now we put the Clippers and the Lakers on a different level than them, even though they're third. We don't count them up there with them. But in a season or two, who knows?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the Nuggets, they do have a lot of hidden talent.
They've taken a lot of big bets in the draft, especially on Bol and Michael Porter Jr. And now it seems like it's working out for them. And I've been saying the Denver Nuggets, like, for a while now. I said it last year. I said it this year. they're going to be a threat in the West for years to come, especially once Jamal Murray gets better. He's already really good right now. Imagine if he steps it up another level. Like, people hate on Jamal Murray for all his antics and stuff, but I love him for that stuff. Like, that's what the things I like to see from a basketball player. Talk your shit. Like, be crazy. And Jamal Murray does that, and if he steps it up to another gear, the Nuggets are going to be like a really, really big team to reckon with.
And come playoff time, they have a like their home advantage is like really high. You know why?
Oh yeah,
Don't
the
you?
mile high, right? Yeah.
Exactly, it's really high because like come playoff time and they're playing and they're home, you're gonna have a couple problems there.
Yeah, I mean last year when the Spurs faced them, the Spurs I'm pretty sure like the Spurs I'm not sure if the Spurs never won, but I think they won one game at Denver. And the thing is with Denver is that when they when they have one of the best records at home in the league, and when they faced like the people in the playoffs last year, they barely lost at home. Like, they're a good home team because of that. Also because of how good their players are, like, as well. Like, we have Michael Porter Jr. Like, people have been hating on Michael Porter Jr. for all of his other stuff outside of the court, with him saying like all of the pray for the officers of the George Floyd incident and all that stuff, and him saying like coronavirus is like not as kind of a hoax, and him being a conspiracy theorist. People hate on him, but he comes in on the court and he drops 35 points and he shows everybody, you should not have doubted me. I was injured. Yeah.
People forget Michael Porter Jr. was a very talented player. Like, he's got the height, he's got all the traits of to be a superstar. To be honest, he just was very injury prone last couple of years.
If he was supposed to be the first overall pick that year.
Yeah, exactly. And then I remember he got injured. He got injured in college.
Yeah.
And even after being injured in college, he still got picked very high. But then he got injured again after he got out of his injury in college, and it's just
he missed his first NBA season, right?
Yeah, he had a back-to-back.
He missed
injury.
his first season in the NBA, and then last year he played like 2-3 games. He barely played.
Yeah, but people forgot. He still is a very talented player with a lot of potential.
All right, Ilyas, what do you have for us? The NHL.
Oh, the NHL, the playoffs right now have been insane. So I broke down what the NHL playoffs has been like last episode, like what they are, and so far we are seeing intense games, especially in one series, Carolina versus New York Rangers. Those are two teams that are like they faced each other a lot during the regular season. First minute, we got a goal in their first playoff game, and now we've seen them. Many players have gotten into fights, like on the ice. Of course, there's like very intense rivalries that are building up. We've seen with the Calgary series versus Winnipeg. One of Winnipeg's star players, Mark Scheifele, got injured, which some like to say is a dirty player from Matthew Tkachuk, who injured him. Some people say it's intentional. Some people say it's not intentional. I don't think it is, but they're like having a budding rivalry, two Canadian teams, Western Canadian teams. The people are saying without the fans that maybe the NHL is going to suffer with the playoff intensity, because everybody always says the NHL playoffs are so intense. Without the fans, maybe they're going to lose that intensity and the play's not going to be boring, or the play is going to be boring. We come into it, the intensity is still there and is there to stay, like I said before, and these playoffs have been amazing. Like the way that the NHL's handled it, especially with having a bubble within a major city in Toronto and in Edmonton. It's not like the NBA where they're on a resort. They're in the heart of a major city, two major cities in Canada. And the fact that they're pulling this off with 0 COVID cases, and the fact that they're still having this incredible playoff intensity, where we're seeing teams that might have never faced each other in the playoffs now become maybe budding rivals. And Carolina, New York is a team that I mentioned before. Yeah, they faced each other a bunch in the regular season, but they never had hate for each other. Same thing with Calgary and Winnipeg. Columbus, Toronto, like they're in a playoff series. They never have hate for each other, but now like these teams, like we're seeing a lot of scrums after whistles, and there's a lot of exciting things to come out of this bubble. There was one game, it wasn't a part of the playoffs, it's part of the round robins to determine the seeding for the 4 best teams in each conference. It was Colorado versus St. Louis. Colorado scored a goal in the last second of the game. Literally 0.1 seconds remaining in the game, they scored a goal to win it, and you would have thought that there was 30,000 fans in the arena. The way that the intensity of the players were, they were screaming, they were yelling. The goal horn was yelling, was on, and it just seemed like it was a real playoff game, even though it wasn't, right. There was no fans there, but watching it, you felt the atmosphere in the arena as if there was fans. Yes, there is fake crowd noise, but that you don't even notice. Like it feels intense watching it, and it probably is because it feels intense for the players that are playing. And the NHL has done, in my opinion, the best job out of any sport at with the bubbles and with their return to play plan and how entertaining it is. And going into the playoffs right away, and plus how they kept the intensity there, and how entertaining. It just overall props to Gary Bettman for doing this. I've never said that my whole entire life. Gary Bettman, in my opinion, is not the best commissioner out there. He's been very criticized as well by other people, but he's done an amazing job for the NHL and what they've done so far, and props to them.
Yes, sir. I agree.
All right. I think that's gonna be all that we have for you guys here today. Honestly, I'm gonna have to wrap it up. I gotta go, but make sure to follow our Instagram at KeyCast.official. Make sure to leave suggestions for what you guys want to see us talk about in our future episodes. Yes, you guys like our sports, but we want to talk about something new. We freshen up the topics. Even though we love talking about it. We want to keep this podcast as fresh as possible
and diverse, right?
Yeah, and flesh it out as much as we can, right? Make sure to follow us, and that's really how you can get updates on the podcast and figure out if there's any technical difficulties or something like that.
Oh yeah, and also next episode, stay tuned for a special guest, right, Ilyas?
Yeah, there might be a special guest in the next episode. We don't know. Probably. But we have to wait and see if we have it confirmed. Our first ever guest on KeyCast, which would be great. But that's follow our Instagram. That's the best way you can really support our podcast right now. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well.
If you're still listening to this, that means you really like this podcast. So share with your friends and send it to everyone you know, bro. Support the movement. Support KeyCast.
Yes, sir. Support the movement.
Right now, the best way to support KeyCast is try to get as much exposure as we can for this podcast. Yes, this is not our job. This is not our thing, but we like doing this. We like making content for you guys, and we want to continue it in the future. And if we get more exposure for this podcast, it will be obviously very beneficial towards us. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the YouTube channel video. That's how we can get that video out there as much as we can. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to have to wrap it up. Anything else you guys want to add there, guys? Or?
I'm good. Thank you for listening. And yeah, we're signing out.
Wash your hands and still wear your mask and stay safe. It's still out there, people. It's still out there.
All right. Thank you guys for listening to the KeyCast, the podcast that unlocks new doors.
Yeah.
See ya.
I was so scared, don't show me love. Now I do it like a saying while I run it up. Tell me, boy, you insane on the